And I backed in and hit him. And it's like, oh, there you go. Insurance, all that. Well, in the meantime, I screwed up. And I told him, well, you see him, go ahead and back up where you should be. And park right there so we don't obstruct.
Sit up. Nice.
The parking lot.
Okay.
So when the cops sit there, they go.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Talk about the link in the bottom right away. Everybody's already saying here. So.
Okay. For those of you online, I have it talking about it later as well, though. The link does not appear in the description box until it actually posts as a video, which is later tonight. So just wait, it'll be there. But you do have to do that. But it'll be there later, not while we're doing this. So you actually have to watch the video and then go do the link afterwards. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Today, we're going to jump right into it and talk about workplace violence. So workplace violence is any act or threat of physical violence, harassment, intimidation, or other threatening or disruptive behavior that happens at work. This includes threats, verbal abuse, physical assaults, and homicide. Some stats for this: homicide is the third leading cause of work-related deaths in the U.S. Does anybody know what the top two are? No, causes of death. So the first one is vehicles, obviously, so wrecking and dying, and then the second one is slips, trips, and falls. So murder is number three in the workplace. Number three in the workplace. Victims of workplace violence. Nearly 2 million American workers report being victims of workplace violence each year. 20 workers are murdered each week, and 18,000 are assaulted while on work or at work or on duty. So risk factors. This is just a condition or circumstance that increases the likelihood of violence in the setting. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it means that there's increased risk of it happening. So that includes increased work demand, personality conflicts, emotional distractions, unfair disciplinary actions, and drug or alcohol use on the job. Warning signs include aggressive behavior, failure to handle criticism, so if you can't take positive, constructive criticism, holding a grudge, and frequent bad moods. Sources of workplace violence. So sources, basically who is doing the workplace violence. So there's 4 different sources. Can anyone guess or tell me the number one source of workplace violence?
Management.
No!
Post office.
No!
Yeah.
Truck drivers.
Okay.
What do you mean by source?
I just explained. So who does the workplace violence? Who commits the violence? So strangers are actually the number one source. So people you don't know that you encounter.
Well, people that were fired.
Okay. What about number 2?
Someone that just got fired.
I'm dialing on that one.
Spouses, family.
No, but that's in there. Number 2 is clients or customers, so the people you're working for.
Oh, really? Watch those ratings.
Number 3 is your coworkers, your fellow employees. And number 4 is personal relationships like friends, family, or people you know outside of work. So workplace violence doesn't have to just be people that you actually work with. It's just workplace on the job, on duty. So preventing workplace violence, you want to maintain safe and secure job sites, clearly communicate safe security policies that we have, and create and abide by a zero-tolerance policy. That means we'll not tolerate any form of physical violence or physical harassment, and there are consequences up to and including termination for workplace violence. Dealing with workplace violence, you want to react calmly, ask them questions that allow them to vent off a little bit, and get assistance if you need it. If there is a complaint, a supervisor is going to investigate and follow through with appropriate disciplinary action. Be proactive and report before situations escalate. So if something happens and you're not sure it's worth reporting or not, probably err on the safer side and get it reported. Report if you're being threatened, you're a victim of a violent act, or you witness a threat or a violent act, or you hear about one. So that was pretty simple and straightforward, correct? Awesome. So some operations. Again, we're gonna hit on online attendance again. For those of you that are online, you have to fill out that link in the description box. Don't look now because it's not there. It will be there tonight when it actually gets posted as an actual video. But make sure you're doing that form so that gets sent to LaDonna and I. You'll get credit for it. We still would like you guys engaging in the chat. This side over here. But we're still going to kind of go off those comments for a while, but eventually we're going to get to just those the safety meeting makeup form in general. Schedules. Kyle has been working on a new schedule. He'll be meeting with those whose schedules will be affected this week or next week. Where's Kyle?
It's by the end of this month, we hope to have all the schedules put in place, but Kyle is trying to talk to everybody that will be affected this week. He's already talking to half the people he's needed to.
Okay. A little bit of a thank you. It's been a rough week, so props to the guys who chained up, moved oil. We preach it all the time. When in doubt, chain up. Don't get stuck without them on. Efficiency is our goal. So going out and doing one load is not efficient. We actually lose money on those types of jobs. Sometimes it is necessary. We get that adverse weather, things like that, mechanical breakdowns. But just make sure you're coming into work fit for duty. You're doing your assigned loads. And if you do need to drop something, you have to call a supervisor with a valid reason as to why you can't complete your loads that were assigned to you. Note from Chesapeake, baby powder and other powders are prohibited on your tank straps to verify your strap levels. It's against federal regulation and also causes the seals to not seal correctly. So you can't be using that while you're out there. It can result in fines from other governmental agencies. So don't use baby powder or other powders.
Well, we actually have a gauging pace that we can
Oof.
use.
What?
We have a gauging pace that we can
Yes, we have gauging pace if you need it. Okay. Recognition was in the weekly notes for these four. Hopefully you guys are reading the weekly notes. If you don't get those are in your company email, so you should have that set up and make sure you're reading your company email. So Jonathan Bergeron, Aaron Davenport, Caleb Hibbs, and Bill Ward were all recognized in that, so make sure you have those set up and you can see those. Some Texas stuff. They're doing the cleanest truck cab contest, so each week company and 3PL cabs are evaluated. Weekly winners are entered into the contest. The winner is going to be drawn March 4th at their safety meeting, and the grand prize is $50. And she would like to recognize Andrew Wilson and Heath Rucker down in Texas for showing the guys from Wyoming that went down around the Texas fields. So thanks for that. Safety focus word is workplace violence is not tolerated for those of you online who need it. And then Gilby has a slide.
I just want to touch a little bit on changing the culture here, and I'm sure Alan's going to elaborate after I have my few topics. But Pat came down here. He spoke with everybody. We're in a time where we need to change, realign on how we do our business. Prairie's grown to be a very large part of this community down here, and we got to continue to make the changes we need to still be the best in this area. So one of the things that I just want to bring up, and Sierra already talked about it, we're changing the schedule a little bit. We're going to try to get as many people in their own truck as possible. The slip seat partners just matched up with the one partner and keep everybody else out of your truck. But we need you guys to work your full shifts. We need you guys to work with your swap seat partners. If it's only going to cost you another 45 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes to get a third load, communicate with your swap seat partner, instead of coming in 2 hours early for that. We need to utilize this equipment the best we can. When it comes to mechanical issues with trucks, we got to use that intake phone. We've always had that culture where we just walk into the shop, grab the mechanic, tell them what's wrong. We need to be using that intake phone. We've already seen in the week that we've been using it that the decisions made to get some of these repairs done in a timely manner have been way more efficient. if you have to drop a load or anything out on the road because of a mechanical issue, you have to talk to the shop first. We just sent another driver that just happened to be here with some fuses and a relay up to another driver that was up by Wright to get him back on the road and hauling oil, where if he would have came back here, he wouldn't have hauled anything that night. It didn't cost us a thing on the mechanic side except for pulling a relay out of the parts and handing it to him. So please intake phone before you do anything. Like we said, we can't be dropping any loads without talking to a supervisor. We're trying to be efficient here. Been running some reports. Might not be anybody in this room, might not even be guys online, but we do see a pattern in some guys that seem to be dropping loads where we didn't need to. We want you to have that. When we come to work here at Prairie, to put in our shift, we know what our schedule is for the week. If we worked at McDonald's, I don't think they're going to appreciate that lunch hour comes in, you're like, sorry, boss, I'm going to head out for the rest of the day. We don't want that here either. We're expecting and planning on you guys to haul all your loads for the day. Pre-trips, breakdowns. As you notice, there's some guy out there watching, making sure you guys are doing pre-trips. Just, giving a little advice on you guys on how you can do some of them quicker and better and everything. But the guys that have stepped up their game on pre-trips have been having less problems out on the road. So it's a proven fact. You pre-trip your truck before you leave, you're going to have a better chance of making it throughout the whole day. One thing I do want to bring up, ask around, what's the proper way to check your air pressure in your tire?
Air gauge.
Air gauge. That is the only proper way. Obviously, we can thumb some tires and stuff like that. But if you're not using an air gauge to check your tire pressure, and you have a tire problem out on the road, if you can't prove to us how you properly checked it, supplemental might not be, granted for waiting. It's just, we've already found too that making sure that our mechanics are filling up the tires to the 100 PSI every time they're in here, instead of just thumping it themselves, we're having less tire problems. I ask that you guys make sure your tires are good on pre-trips as well. How many of you guys in here could change your own headlight if you had to? Windshield wiper? Fuse? I'd ask the shop if you could keep some spares in your trucks and,
Okay, if we're gonna do that, we need management to get on the shop and give us the parts, because that's been rung up a lot.
That's what I just asked. We will give you those spare parts to keep in there.
And while you're at it, there's spare parts for air fittings. There's a lot of times a 2-minute air fitting fix can save a whole day. I've been trying to get you guys to put these in the trucks for a long while. I bought my own, somebody took it, I ain't buying me another.
Well, I'll work with the shop to get you a little kit and whoever else. I know none of you guys are mechanics. I don't expect you to crawl underneath the truck and work on them. But if you can keep yourself moving, and if you're a little mechanically inclined, it helps a lot. Bring a little recognition to Darren McFarland. He had a problem with an airline on top of his transmission. And they couldn't figure out where this air problem was, but he couldn't move the truck. Between him and Logan, they took the little cover off around the shifter. They found it, used some super glue and another piece of little rubber. They were able to get the truck back down here to get fixed instead of us having to use a tow truck. I don't expect everybody to be like that, but I mean, they did what it took to keep the truck moving.
I don't think I need to elaborate on any of that. I just think that, just to communicate, had several meetings. Some of them have been, looking at financials and things like that. So I know that it's, after layoffs and things like that, it always feels kind of gloomy and depressing. But we're going the right direction. I think that, we got here because we grew fast. We spent to keep things going. To be honest, a lot of decisions were made as far as what's easiest rather than what's best. And now that we're trying to do what's best, it impacts people, and a lot of people don't, a lot of people get frustrated that we can't just make these decisions as easy, but we're doing fine. And we have basically a 4-month plan to be debt free. And I think Dustin and I have been proposing a lot of the new rates, and we're putting bids in left and right. I mean, it feels good. Last week was really tough. I know that we mentioned the drivers out there in the field, but I know those water drivers out in the Sampson field had a really, really tough time. And, they worked with the Sampson crew, and, we didn't tow a truck. I mean, I give Samson a lot of credit out there with their blades and our drivers for trying. And a lot of times on the oil, you can postpone it a day or two, where they'll just say, "Don't worry about it." But the water, you don't get that luxury a lot of the times. You got to get there. And lastly, Kim and I just went through the quarterlies. So if you're due in this quarter, it'll be effective last pay period if there's an increase. And I think it looks good. We're doing fine. I would say, our limiting factor lately has been the volume. But there's a lot of opportunity. We got some meetings this week for more volume and some other opportunities. So I won't speak to it until we get there. But I feel good that we're moving forward, and I just don't know, the overall tone. I mean, I think drivers, honestly, mechanics, dispatch, everybody's been great. Given what we went through recently. Yeah, that's not an easy thing, and I know there's a lot of, people that kind of feel like, is that the end? Is it, is there more to come? And it creates an insecurity, which I hate, because I've always preached since I've been here that I'm all about job security. So I will just say, after meeting and having a meeting with Wyzetta and the financial team, I feel good. I feel like we're going in a good direction. So I'll leave it at that.
I had a couple of comments out here online. Josh and Tim had both mentioned that the shop's not answering the phone. We got like several shop phone numbers out there. I'll text you guys the phone that's supposed to be used, because I know with summer being gone and the service truck guys being gone, I don't know if anybody's answering those phone numbers. So we'll make sure we get the right phone number out to all you guys that's trying to get a hold of the shop.
Any questions? Appreciate everything. Hang in there. Hopefully we'll get through this crappy cold weather.
Alrighty.